and welcome to this edition of News Leader. Today is Tuesday, November the 22nd, 2022. I'm Andrew Todd. In tonight's news, Bonnaroo tickets go on sale on Black Friday. The Kiwanis Club held their annual craft sale, and Thanksgiving travel is supposed to be a busy one this year. We'll have all these stories and more on tonight's News Leader.
Parkview Senior Living, active, independent senior living at its finest.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
We teach Parkinson's patients how to move big and not let the Parkinson's slow them down. I've had patients I've treated in-house that could not even stand up, could not roll over in the bed, left the facility walking with a walker, have come back to us in outpatient and continued their big program and are now completely, handling life. The success of the program is just phenomenal.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. It's Thanksgiving week, which means fried turkey with dressing and lots of side items with family gathered around the table. Black Friday seems to be blurred as to when it begins, but one regular annual event, that is, Bonnaroo ticket sales, will start this Friday at 10 a.m. This year, Bonnaroo has announced attendees will be allowed to purchase camping in any of the camping areas, regardless of the concert experience chosen. Live Nation believes giving festival goers more options will improve the experience of people coming to Bonnaroo. The tickets on Friday will be the cheapest tickets offered for the 2023 Bonnaroo for fans who are willing to reserve their place months before the lineup is announced. On Saturday, I attended the Kiwanis Craft Show at Tullahoma's First Methodist Church and brought back this video. So we're here at the Kiwanis Craft Fair for this year, and sir, if you would introduce yourself to our audience and tell us all about what we got going today.
Yes, I'm Bob Barksdale. I'm a member of the Tullahoma Kiwanis Club. We have had this show has been going on for roughly about 40 years. We have had the show for maybe 10 to 12 years. We took it over from the Junior Women's Club when they decided to disband. The proceeds that the Kiwanis Club gets from the show, we put back into the community to help various child organizations and charities that are such as Haven of Hope, and I just went blank.
But many great charities that do help out children.
Yes,
is kind of the thrust behind this, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And I know we want to let people know to be on the lookout for, you do some work with the Salvation Army, correct?
Yes, we as a club will be participating for the Salvation Army in their bell ringing activity, and we will be at Hobby Lobby on December the 3rd from 9 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
Oh, fantastic. Well, again, as we were talking earlier, the past couple of years have had to be on pause because of COVID and all, but it is so glad to see people back out, and great turnout you've had the last couple of days, it seems like.
Well, yes, last year, 2021 was our first year back from COVID, and we could definitely tell that there was a decrease in the crowd at that time, and there's been a significant increase this year. Many of our crafters have been back with us. Many have been with us for 10, 12, 15 years or so.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. Well, folks, again, keep an eye out, and anything you can do to help with the Kiwanis. They do a great job, I know, and anything to help the kids around the holiday season. Ain't that right, Bob?
That's right, and just like the Marines, we're always looking for good people, and if you're interested in civic activities and spending an hour or so each week, please come check us out. We have weekly meetings, and our meeting site is Grace Baptist Church in their gym area, and we meet at 6 o'clock, and meetings last from 6 to 7.
Fantastic. Well, Bob, thank you, and thanks for everything you do and what Kiwanis does, and another great event. And thank you again. Thanks.
I should add that the meetings are on Tuesday nights.
There we go.
From 6 to 7 p.m. We have a meal, and then we do a little business, and we're out again by 7 p.m.
All right. We'll go by and see them, and yeah, it's all for a great cause. Bob, again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here and
Absolutely.
for filming the activities here at our 2022 craft show.
Thank you. After these messages, we'll be right back.
For many senior citizens, life looks like this, but it doesn't have to. When you make your home at Parkview Senior Living, life after retirement takes on a whole new meaning. Daily exercise options, fun outings, happy hour, game nights, movies and popcorn, arts and crafts, enjoying friends over chef-prepared meals. Parkview Senior Living, where you're always home, but you're never home alone.
There's a lot of talk about the risks associated with the COVID-19 vaccine, but the reality is, it's safer than going for a run. Give it a shot. Find a free appointment today at covid19.tn.gov.
Welcome back. Colonel Randall Gordon was the keynote speaker at Tullahoma's recent Veterans Day program. We brought you the first half of his presentation on Thursday's news, and we bring you the second half of this presentation now.
War story number 2, a couple years later in a completely different airplane, flying combat missions over Afghanistan. And I haven't really talked about this too publicly up until now, but considering it's Veterans Day, this seems to be the most appropriate time with which to kind of bring this up. Everyone in here, you've seen the images of how we left Afghanistan. The image that is stuck in my mind is the C-17 surrounded by what looked like, dozens, hundreds of desperate citizens of Afghanistan trying to find any way to get out of that country. So much so they would cling to the outside of the airplane as a means with which to go. Right? Now, as a person who served in Afghanistan, do we have any other veterans from Afghanistan in the room? Thank you. As a person that served in Afghanistan, and as a person that is a pilot, seeing that image was, I'm still at a loss for words. Quite frankly, right? It breaks me up on the inside. And I understand a bit of how our Vietnam vets felt watching the Marine helicopters pull people off of the embassy in Saigon, right, as like the last kind of image, if you will, leaving that country. The reason I bring that up is because it really brought up some thoughts in my mind of what was it for? What did we do? Was it worth it? All those sorts of things. And here's the way I kind of resolved it out. I got a chance to go to Afghanistan to bring a brand new airplane that didn't exist beforehand up until that point. It was called the E-11. It's basically this Bombardier business jet that had been completely converted over to an electronic warfare kind of airplane. It was a big communications bridge that we used. If you remember Operation Anaconda, which was in the beginning stages of Afghanistan, that's where we essentially had bin Laden cornered, and he was able to escape. And there were a number of different things that went wrong with that. But one of the things that we figured out in the aftermath of that is that communications were terrible, mainly because of the different terrain that operated in Afghanistan, the different communications equipment that the Marines had compared to the Air Force, compared to the Army, and we just couldn't coordinate very, very well. This jet, this E-11 that I flew, was designed to go after that problem. It was a big translator. No matter what radio you had, so long as you could see my airplane, we could translate it and rebroadcast on any other frequency, and we could coordinate that way. So my service in Afghanistan was born out of Operation Anaconda. that then triggered this need to develop this airplane. And so we brought it to Afghanistan as the first cadre and flew missions out of Kandahar, Afghanistan, which is about the most exotic, most remote place I've ever served in my life. The image that came to mind when we first got there, we flew in on a C-130, and the ramp of the C-130 kind of slowly rolled down. You could hear the hydraulic motors pushing the ramp down and that light streaming in from the outside into the cargo hold. And in the background, I saw an Afghan farmer tending his field, probably in the same way that his predecessors tended field, probably in the same way that the British or the Russians or Alexander the Great, right, saw when they went through Afghanistan. And it just struck me that this Afghan farmer tilling his field was just a very, very different world than perhaps these Americans who were arriving on the back of this modern transport airplane with the ramp rolling down. And it kind of sunk into me that, wow, this is a very, very different type of fight than perhaps what we had expected and what we were going in to do. But I reflected back on that same experience I had flying F-15s over northern Iraq of, I'm in this airplane, I'm in this C-130, and same feeling. I've got my brothers and my sisters together. We are operating in harm's way. Every day that we were there, almost every day, it seems as though we got attacks from Taliban that would lob rockets into the base. We were walking around with body armor, we carried sidearms and weapons the whole time through. Anytime I flew that airplane and we were getting ready to land, we had to put on armor because we weren't sure if the Taliban were going to be waiting for us at the end of the runway shooting into the airplane, and so we wanted to protect at least us because the airplane really had no defensive systems. It was never built that way around there. And all those things wrapped together, and I'll tell you, it was probably the most exhilarating experience of my life, was to get a chance to serve on that front. And it seems weird to say that, but to go into combat in those types of situations, it just made everything so very, very clear of, we have a mission, I have responsibilities to the person to my left and to my right, that we're gonna do what we can, right, within the scope of where we have authority to do that, and we're gonna try to make this situation better. And no matter where we are, we're gonna be American servicemen and women, and we're gonna do what's right and defend the freedoms and ideals that people look at America to provide around the world. I loved my time flying in Afghanistan for that reason. We got a chance to fly top cover over a British AH-64 Apache that had been shot down. The front seater was killed right on impact. The back seater was still alive. He had his sidearm out and he was shooting at whatever Taliban was coming over the ridge. We had A-10s flying top cover support, and we had inbound helicopters trying to rescue the AH-64 that was stuck on the ground. And I got a chance to serve on that, right? To be a part of that, to help out that situation as desperate as it was. And I just had this feeling that there's no other place in the world I'd rather be, there's no other mission I'd rather serve than that mission. Because I wasn't gonna let them down. And I knew that they weren't gonna let me down either, right? That's what it meant to be a veteran, right? To wear this uniform. So when I look back on things like that C-17 and the helicopters in Saigon and those sorts of things, I look and I go, in so much as it depended on the United States military, in so much as my responsibilities and the responsibilities that people had to me, there was a trust, there was a fidelity, dare I say even a love, right? A love of what it meant to be a serviceman or servicewoman in this uniform in bad guy land around the world. And that's something I will always be supremely grateful for, that I can look at every other veteran and say that that's my brother, that's my sister. So I wanted to give you kind of those stories, right? Just two stories. Different theaters of war, different combat operations, different jets. But at the core of both of those stories was just this love of what it meant to be in the United States military. I would argue the greatest force for good that has ever existed in the history of the world. And I wanted to say thank you, personally, thank you, because as I was describing with the mayor, my wife and I, we've been in a number of different places around the country, different assignments as Bev was talking about. I have never been a part of a community that was so much supportive and so much a big deal for the people of the base, right? The men and women that work out there, and to see that level of just patriotism, of pride in terms of what we serve, that has reinvigorated me, right? After 24 years of service in this military, in this Air Force, to still stand up and get chills right when I hear the Air Force, someone said, and sung so well. And it's maybe because I just feel so invigorated to kind of walk around the area of Tennessee and just kind of seeing just the support that Tullahoma provides in Manchester and Winchester. This whole area, right, in terms of how it supports Arnold, has just been very, very humbling to me personally. So on behalf of the men and women of the Arnold Engineering Development Complex, the United States Air Force, Department of the Air Force now, with Spaceports, I just wanted to say thank you and to wish you a happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back after these messages.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. Get to Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
So you've been meaning to do something healthy, commune with nature, get outdoors and meet new people. We have the perfect solution. Come hike with us. You can find a Tennessee Trails Association chapter near you, including Clarksville, Columbia Franklin, Highland Rim, Jackson, Knoxville, Oak Ridge, Memphis, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Plateau at Crossville, and Upper Cumberland. We're on the web at TennesseeTrails.org. It's fun, it's stress-free, and it's good for you. See you on the trails. Welcome back. At Tullahoma's Veterans Day program, John Gray had the duty of reading the list of local veterans who passed away since last Veterans Day.
Listen to the Colonel speak made something very clear to me. Very few people in this country understand what he's talking about, because very few of us go and put our lives on the line like he's talking about. Most of us get to celebrate the freedoms that these people fight for. Every day, we wander around this wonderful land of ours, free to disagree with each other, free to dance, sing, whatever we want to do, free to think what we want to think, and argue about it. Other countries don't get to do that. They die over it. But we get to argue and go home and feel safe. Please don't let the argument cause you to hate your neighbor, because we all have an opportunity and the right to feel and think what we want because of the sacrifice of our veterans, the ones who stand on the wall and fight for us and our freedom. This year's list of veterans who have passed. David Singleton, William Michael, Sherman Mays, Lewis McCarran, John Hanna, Arthur Gordon II, David Hammond, Fred Raymond Green, Doris Davis, Charles Richardson, Mac Fannin, Bryce Kutzel, Roger Rebar, Joseph Jones, Larry McMillan, Robert Peterson II, Tommy Dimmerman, Herman Ferris, Virgil Johns, Robert Sims, William Robert Sims, Marie Kozar, Bobby Allison, William Osborne, Eddie Ray Finney. Rodney Thornton. Richard Sane. Rex Birdsong. Joe Williams. Muriel Aldridge. Timothy Duke. Fred Birchfield. Dennis Siles. Fred Alexander, Fred Wayne Alexander. Larry McKenzie. Gary Beck. Terry Collier. Ralph Trucker. Jerry Sherrill. William Whitehead. Larry Chandler. Glenn Fish. Charles Jackson. Kenny Coburn. Jesse Voorhees. Lloyd Brandon. Clarence Burnett. Leslie Hartley. James Birchfield. William Voorhees. Herman Stidham. Billy Byron. Richard Wise. Stephen Knight. Robert Shooter. Peter Root. George Shelley. Curtis Bell. Andrew Griffin. Benjamin Edwards Jr. Ricky Knight. Druid Parker. Henry Boswell Jr. Anthony Arnold. James Rainey Sr. James Gibson Jr. Robert Bart Sr. Eugene Lomaker. David Attenberry. William Ray Jr. Dan Bevins Jr. Herbert McBee. Sharon Kozia. Robert Rainey. Edwin Heselton. Edward Adcock Sr. John Sands. Leland MacArthur. John Lowry. Leonard DeBorn. Harold Leedy III. Roy Barker. Robert Kinney. Robert Brinkley. David Shelcoat. Vernon Scribner. Jesse Mangrum. Charles Moore. Jack Johnson. Jack Dixon. Travis Bradnick. Arthur Chesner. Robert Firlico. William Fugate. Clarence McFarland. And Robert Tips Sr.
We'll be right back with more news after these messages.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me at Life Care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. Thanksgiving travelers will not be delayed by construction on Tennessee roads during this holiday. TDOT will halt all lane closure activity on interstates and state highways in anticipation of higher traffic volumes across the state. All construction-related lane closures will be stopped beginning at noon tomorrow through 6 a.m. on Monday. TDOT Commissioner Butch Ely said, quote, "Thanksgiving is typically the most traveled holiday of the year. Halting road work during this time will provide maximum capacity on our highways and help alleviate congestion, especially during the predicted peak travel days of Wednesday and Sunday." TDOT's regional help trucks will also be working throughout the holiday weekend to assist with incidents that may occur along the interstates, end quote. While all lane closure activity will be stopped, workers may be on site in some construction zones. Long-term lane closures will also remain in place on some construction projects for motorist safety. Motorists are reminded to drive safely and obey the posted speeds, especially in work zones. Drivers convicted of speeding in work zones where workers are present face a fine of up to $500 plus court fees and possible increased insurance premiums. AAA predicts in Tennessee 1.2 million people will take a road trip, an increase of 12,000 people from last year's holiday and the busiest Thanksgiving since 2019. And don't forget to tune into this week's Living Show tonight at 6:30 p.m., Thursday morning at 9 a.m., and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings at 6:30 p.m. This week's guests include local musician Lee Gibson, who will play some songs and let us know about his Christmas tour. The Tullahoma Chamber will stop by with details about this year's Christmas parade, and Junior Baker will invite everyone to participate in the Coffee County 48 Hours of Prayer event next week. All that and more on this week's Living. And stay with us, we'll have your weather forecast right after these messages.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Since the moment you were born, I've made 1,000 wishes. Wishes for your future in a world that's changing fast. Do play and laugh. Do win and lose. Do it all with confidence, kindness, and strength. And always do your best to remember that no matter what you do in this life, what matters to me is that you keep doing.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this date. Our record high was in 1983 at 74 degrees. Record low was in 1964 at 14 degrees. The average high for this day is 58 and the average low is 35. Mostly clear for tonight with a low of 33. Sunny skies for Wednesday with a high of 64 and a low of 41, and partly sunny skies for Thursday with a high of 65 and a low of 48. And that's our News Leader report for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. for News Leader. Stay safe. Have a great evening.